North Korea is a country shrouded in mystery and secrecy. While the world knows about its nuclear program and its leader, Kim Jong-un, there is much more to this isolated nation than meets the eye. In this video, we will explore the dark side of North Korea, uncovering the truth about its human rights abuses, famine, and propaganda machine. We will shed light on the harsh realities of life in this secretive state. Get ready to discover the truth about the Hermit Kingdom in the dark side of North Korea. As the last communist nation standing on the brink of economic collapse, North Korea is among the world's poorest countries. Known for its constant nuclear threats and numerous sanctions, it now faces a dire future. Historically, Korea was a sovereign kingdom until the Russo-Japanese War of 1904 to 1905, during which the Japanese government captured and colonized the Korean peninsula, a period lasting until 1945. After World War II, the northern part of the Korean peninsula was controlled by Russia, while the southern region came under the jurisdiction of the United States. Each region appointed its own leader, with Kim Il-sung leading North Korea. In 1950, North Korea, supported by the Soviet Union, initiated the Korean War in an attempt to capture the southern region, marking the start of a three-year conflict. Following the war, North Korea embarked on a path to industrialization, mirroring the Soviet Union's centralized economic model. This included the establishment of a socialist government and the promotion of self-sufficiency, known as the Juche ideology. The focus was on developing heavy industries and investing in sectors like steel, cement, and machine tools. Despite having 80% of the peninsula's industrial infrastructure after the Korean War, much of it was destroyed during Allied bombings, leading to economic stagnation. Kim Il-sung played a pivotal role in developing the Juche ideology, which combined elements of Marxism and Leninism and emphasized self-reliance and sovereignty. This ideology persisted under Kim Jong-il, Kim Il-sung's successor, who made adjustments to North Korea's economic model in the 1980s and 1990s. North Korea's isolation from the outside world earned it the moniker Hermit Kingdom. The government's strict control extended to personal matters, such as pet ownership, clothing choices, and hairstyles. The country faced severe food shortages, with up to 10 million North Koreans experiencing malnutrition, despite a total population of 25 million. Harsh price controls and quotas further eroded social welfare programs. North Korea's human rights violations, federal laws, and ongoing sanctions have made it a dangerous place for its citizens. The United Nations Security Council imposed numerous sanctions, including arms trade bans, asset freezes, restrictions on luxury imports, and limitations on resource exports and oil imports. North Korea's economy operates under a centrally planned model influenced by the Juche ideology, with limited market development. Despite a brief period of economic liberalization when Kim Jong-un assumed power in 2012, North Korea remains largely isolated and economically controlled by the government. In conclusion, North Korea's economic challenges stem from its historical experiences, rigid ideology, international sanctions, and isolationist policies, making it one of the world's poorest and most closed-off nations. Amidst conflicting reports about economic reforms and legislation, it's evident that North Korea has witnessed some informal market activity since the 1990s. These informal markets, commonly known as jangmadang, were born out of necessity following the North Korean government's failure to distribute food adequately to its citizens during the economic collapse of the 90s. This period marked a grim chapter in North Korea's history, exacerbated by the collapse of its primary economic supporter, the Soviet Union. To mitigate the crisis, North Korea entered into bilateral trade agreements with its historical rival, South Korea, while also maintaining strong economic ties with China. Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index of 2022 ranked North Korea at 171 out of over 180 countries, highlighting its stringent laws and draconian punishments enforced by the federal government. Citizens are forbidden from accessing international media or modifying TV or radio equipment to gain information from the outside world. Yet, due to corruption and widespread bribery, law enforcement often overlooks such infractions. The severity of the law correlates with the size of the bribe, extending even to the country's illegal private economic activities, which officials tolerate in exchange for hefty bribes. In North Korea, bribing officials has become an essential means of survival. The consequences of North Korea's oppressive laws and ill-conceived economic policies are devastating. Some estimates suggest that the poverty rate in North Korea stands at a staggering 60%, with reports indicating that 43% of citizens suffer from malnourishment. The country grapples with a severe food crisis and alarming income inequality. The misallocation of resources exacerbates poverty, as the government prioritizes the development of nuclear weapons and military technology over social welfare programs and combating famine. In 1995, the government's decision to redirect resources and food supplies to the northern region, particularly Pyongyang, aimed to secure regime support but led to farmers selling their produce exclusively to the capital's leaders. This eroded trust in the regime and forced it to resort to draconian measures to maintain control. Natural disasters, floods, and famines since the 90s have further battered North Korea, exposing the regime's inadequate environmental policies. The country's poor agricultural and river management, coupled with catastrophic droughts and landslides, have resulted in the loss of millions of lives. The 2020 typhoons inflicted additional damage on crop yields and industrial infrastructure, exacerbating the food shortage crisis. The arduous March famine from 1994 to 1998 was a harrowing period in North Korea's history, leading to mass starvation and a steep economic decline. While global warming played a role, the famine's underlying causes include resource mismanagement, bad economic policies, and the loss of support from the Soviet Union after its collapse. North Korea's inability to import goods due to sanctions and recurring natural disasters left it in a dire situation, incapable of managing crises flexibly. Reports estimate that the arduous March famine claimed the lives of up to 3.5 million people due to starvation-related diseases. The suffering continued into the early 2000s, with an additional 600,000 lives lost due to the famine, as documented by a U.S. Census Bureau report.